For more on the race, we've reached Niigaan Sinclair. He's a columnist with the Winnipeg Free Press and professor of Indigenous Studies at the University of Manitoba. He's joining me from Niagara Falls, Ontario. Niigaan, good to see you.
Bonjour, Andrew. Nice to see you.
So we have 6 candidates running for AFN National Chief. Who do you see as the front-runners in that group?
There's 5 candidates from the prairies, 1 from Ontario. Likely, although it's really hard, these are convention-like atmospheres. For me to give you who is the front runner, I'd have to really tell you after the first ballot. But likely Reginald Belrose from Saskatchewan, 2-decade chief, well known for working on gaming issues in Saskatchewan. Also came second in the 2021 campaign against then National Chief Roseanne Archibald. Probably is the front runner, probably has the most amount of bedrock support. But there's 2 women who are very strong candidates as well. One is Cindy Woodhouse, who is a fairly strong loyalist to Perry Bellegarde, former National Chief, but also really well known for the $23 billion settlement representing the AFN on the issue of First Nations children in the child welfare system. And of course, something that everybody who has watched the AFN history of national elections will know, Sheila North, who in the 2018 election came second place, still has some bedrock support, is a former Grand Chief of Northern Manitoba. I think those 3 candidates are probably the ones who have the most bedrock amount of support. Certainly there's a lot of them. A dark horse candidate might be Dean Sayers, who's the former chief of Batchewana First Nation. He's well known for the $10 billion Robinson-Huron Treaty Annuity settlement, doing some really important stuff to bring chiefs together. And really, that's the challenge for the National Chief. How will you be able to bring a very fractious organization together under a unified banner? The question is, can anybody do it?
Right, because this election is coming after a lot of internal strife for the organization, including the removal of Roseanne Archibald as National Chief. What has this done to the AFN's reputation in your view?
Well, Roseanne Archibald was the first female national chief in history. I think that's a terrible look. I think that in a typically male-dominated organization, to remove the first female national chief and not let her finish her term is a terrible look for the organization. There was much allegations, and there was a report that suggested that Roseanne Archibald did harass staff, bully staff. But in the midst of all of that was her investigation and what she claimed to have evidence for, which was financial improprieties, corruption in the organization dating back to the days of former National Chief Perry Bellegarde. Those answers are never been given. I mean, the questions are still lingering from those concerns that the former National Chief have raised. And so the reality is can the candidate, whoever becomes victorious for the National Chief, bring what is a very fractious group together? Because the organization has been able to do nothing for about 2 years now to be able to pursue and support First Nations interests across the country. But the real question is, should the AFN exist? It's been moving regionally for regional interests for quite a long time. Can any national chief bring forward the visions of chiefs in BC, for example, where treaties are being negotiated with very specific treaty rights that are being sought after in the Maritimes, for example, around lobster fishing? I don't think any national chief can perhaps do it. Maybe this is the best thing possible, is for the AFN to break into regional groups, but we'll have yet to see about that.
So as you listen to the candidates this week, put their message to that special chiefs assembly, what are you going to be watching for in terms of the messages you're hearing from them on the future of the AFN and what it needs to be doing on policy issues? What are some of the key arguments that you think we might be hearing?
Well, an AFN National Chief election is nothing like anything else that this country ever sees. Oftentimes, the National Chiefs candidates, and they have been for the past month or so, been traveling really together, even sharing vehicles, sharing planes that they've been going on together. You just don't see that in Canadian politics. And so there's been a very interesting kind of camaraderie created from the 6 candidates. Anyone who sees social media, some of the debates, they aren't really debates. They're kind of presentations to Chiefs groups saying, vote for me, but I really have good relationships with this other candidate over here. You just don't see that. I'm looking for how fractious will this election get. One of the things that happens at these national chief elections is there's really specific chiefs rooms, like the BC Chiefs, which is a very large contingent, the largest contingent of block voting. They often vote together. Who will be able to appeal to those BC interests, or Saskatchewan, another very big block vote? Who will be able to achieve those block votes? Because what you really need is BC, Saskatchewan, and let's say Manitoba or Ontario or part of the Maritimes, you really need to appeal to specific regional interests to be able to gain support on the floor in the election. And we're also going to see virtual voting for the first time in the AFN national elections. We have seen some virtual voting in the past, but it's going to be on the wide scale. So how will virtual voting influence what's happening on the national convention floor? It will be about really who does the best speech on that day and who will be able to promise to make the AFN more relevant again with everyday First Nations and bring the chiefs back. For instance, in Alberta, chiefs don't even come to the organization anymore because it's been so fractious.
All right, very quickly, I do want to ask you about what happens next when there is a new national chief, what they're going to do in terms of policy, because we know that chiefs who are at this Special Chiefs Assembly are looking at policy resolutions along with voting. Homelessness tops the list, along with healthcare and languages. What are the key areas that you see the AFN and the new AFN National Chief really focusing on over the next 6 months, over the next year?
Well, I agree with you on the issue of poverty and homelessness, but the big issue that's been coming up in this election is the issue of housing. Everybody's aware of the Kickstarter or the accelerator, not a Kickstarter, that the federal government been invested in with municipalities. I think the AFN's been interested for quite a long time in supporting the issue of housing on First Nations and maybe accessing some of that dollars, or certainly reminding the federal government that they have an obligation to support housing. Another issue that's come up is around policing on First Nations. There's been a multi-billion-dollar policy by the Trudeau government to support First Nations policing. The RCMP has clawed a lot of that money and not created individual First Nations with policing. The RCMP has taken a lot of that money. It's been quite controversial. I think the new national chief will want to deal with those issues as well.
All right, Niigaan Sinclair, thanks for your time on this tonight.
Yeah, miigwech. Thanks so much, Andrew.